Good morning. Um, yeah, so just another day, another stream. And this morning I'm just picking up where I left off yesterday. So last night, obviously, we were building out a repository for a new system that I'm building, which is kind of like a live cockpit, an export of all of my chats from all the various AIs that I use, and then trying to replicate a neural network of my thoughts, my conversations, and then connecting them. And then I eventually want to turn that into a dashboard where I can monitor everything that I've got going on. I can then kind of reprioritize work and things like that. And yeah, just kind of just want to pick up where we left off. And yeah, straight to it. So I'm gonna show you shortly the progress that we made yesterday, just to give you something visual, because we spent a lot of time in the code base yesterday planning, structuring all of the foundations of our build, and then yeah, I just want to show you the end result of that. See anything visual, just bear with me. I'm just adding the screen here. So that you can see it. Right. So great. Yeah, cool. So zoom in on this. So this is what we built out yesterday. Let me just interact with it so you can see. Yeah. So this is essentially what we built yesterday. So this is a network of all of the conversations that I have with AI, how they're actually connected together. And you can see obviously some of these networks are a lot bigger than others. And the current problem, though, or the slice that we're going to tackle today, is splitting these out, so that anywhere where we've got a lexical connection, and lexical just means that you've used the same words, we can group those together, or we can decide whether we're going to group them based off of a lexical connection or semantic connection. Lexical is just using the same words, and then semantic means the same thing. So we just need to decide on the frameworks, or I need to decide on the framework that I'm going to use for linking these things together, and then I want to break out the actual conversations from them. So if I click on one of these, you can see it contains conversations that I've had, and then all of the messages are all grouped within that. And yeah, I don't want it to be grouped this way. I want the actual nodes to be based off of every single conversation that I have individually. So what this is then going to do is eventually map out every single conversation that I've had with AI, group them, and then help me kind of reprioritize things. So then moving forward, any new thoughts that I have, any new ideas that I have, it's got a reference point or a knowledge base, starting point of every thought that I've had, every idea that I've had, and then kind of help me better prioritize things, keep a track on things and things like that. And this is going to be kind of like one layer of the cockpit that we end up building. So yeah, that's the journey. Just bear with me a second. I'm just quickly checking something, just to make sure that we're all audible. Sec. Cool. Yeah, sorry about that. So, yeah, just to get back to one of play. Yeah, so just to kind of recap, this is what we ended up building yesterday. And I went through the process of layering everything in terms of the correct um um called the correct um frameworks that I wanted to use. We spent probably about a good hour just planning this specific slice. And doing it this way obviously turns it and create something that's not just a vibe code or whatever else. It allowed us to see and make every single decision, really guide the AI tool, and we were able to get something that's really usable out of it. So from here, I can see every single conversation, every single thought that I've had. But now today's problem or today's task is going to be taking this from kind of like this flat surface that you see, and then breaking down or breaking out a lot of these inner layers into nodes, again connecting them based off of either a lexical connection or semantic connection. So I need to now just do the same iteration, plan out this next slice or this next work package, and then from there I'll be able to build out the next layer onto this system, and then yeah, hopefully it will allow us to build the next layer on top of this, and then slowly start to build out that system, how these things interact with each other, and then eventually, probably, I don't know how much progress I'll be able to make on this. It depends how much time I spend on this today, but then the end goal is to actually have this as a smart neural network. So it's given me feedback on, Clay, last month you had this thought that you didn't explore. It's connected to something that you've asked me recently. Should we link these two things together and then carry out action X, right? That's where I want to get to with this. So the first step of that is now going to be building out, and this is just a sample of 30 conversations that it's opened. I've got maybe over 5,000 to connect. So obviously this will be quite heavy. But again, the good thing about focusing this down onto just 30 nodes and 30 connections allowed me to be able to test, verify, and see it end to end, rather than building something where I've got 3,000 nodes to connect, and then something goes wrong. I can't quickly action and pivot what those changes are, because there's going to be issues like having a node with the same name and the same date, and then that will end up causing an error in the system, and that will be harder to unpick with 3,000 odd things on here. So I just wanted to quickly give you a quick visual show of where the system is at the moment, what we've actually built so far. And I'm going to get into building the next slice, what that looks like. And then, we'll take it from there. So I'm just going to go back into Claude Code. What you can see on the screen now was me fixing a handover skill that I needed to tweak so that it was working globally. And what this handover skill is doing is compacting down the context of every window, because I don't want to use or allow the AI to go over 160k tokens in terms of the context. I want to remain in that smart zone, and have it really be as smart as it can be, not have as many kind of cloudiness and things like that. So after I reach 135k tokens, I want it to flag at me the context windows reaching the limit that you've set. Should we compact this and then create a handover and start a new session, just with that context really compacted down, so that every single decision and every session that we're starting is on a very limited context window, so that we get the most out of the AI, without having to cloudy or muddy too much of what it's got to do, just again so that we're getting good output from it. Cool. So that's done. So what I want to actually now jump back into is now the next slice. So just giving me a second. Part one, half trigger. Cool. Navigate. Cool. That one was done. Domain vocabulary go suspect. Okay, cool. Don't need that anymore. Continue handoff. Okay, cool. So this is done. So what I want to actually now do is committed. Cool. So now I want a new session. So I'm going to start a new session here. And what I want to do is actually trigger the new session from the last task that we actually did. All right. What I'm doing here is actually go into the context window on the completed slice. Cool. Off. So I'm now handing off or creating the handoff. This is now triggering the handoff skill, and then from here, it's right in the context window in terms of everything that we've achieved within this slice. So then I can start planning the next slice, the next move, and then hand that off to the next session that we're about to start. And then we're going to go through the same iteration. So we're going to plan and scope out what we want this system to do next, the tools and things like that that we want to add to it, and that separation. So we're going to scope everything out. There are certain things that I want in terms of like the visual aspects of it. I want to gray out certain things or change the saturation of the color based off of recency as well. So I want to add that as well. So just that it knows, okay, this node might be smaller. Sorry, I don't want to base recency based off of the size of the node. What do I mean by that? So obviously all of these nodes here that are on the screen are conversations that I've had with, not all of the conversations, but a snapshot of 30 conversations that I've had with Claude. All of them are sized differently. So you can see the date on here. A lot of these are from 2024 because the snapshot started from taking 30 from November in 2024, and you can see it goes down from November the 28th 2024, and then the dates kind of whittled down from that date, and it's the 30 conversations since that. So what I want, I don't want the size of the node to be connected to the recency. So in terms of the smaller it is, the older it is. That's not what I want. I want the recency to be based on the saturation. So the older it is, the more closer it is to gray, and then the newer it is, the more intense that green color is. Again, just to help me navigate through this, just see the relationship on recency just visually, just so that I'm looking at certain nodes that are gray. I know that that's not really as important. And the more green that stand out, that means that it's more recent. And then the size, I want that just to be based on, again, how it is now with the number of connections or the connected nodes and conversations that link off of that particular conversation, right? So that's how I want to build that out, and I want to build all of that logic into it, and then I want to split all of these conversations into sub nodes, just to create more of a network and a wider network. And then once that's all working fine, I want to import more nodes just to test that it can actually handle the volume. So I'll import more of the conversations that I've had with AI into this. And then once I'm happy with those and there are no errors, I'll then put the whole lot in, and then I'll do the same thing with GPT and everything else that I've kind of interacted with. And then I'll be in a position where I don't need to use the chat anymore. I'll use it locally on my machine. So it's continuously writing to this system. And then from there, I'll be able to have a live view of every thought that I've had, the importance to it, where it's connected to other thoughts. And then I'll implement a kind of like a mentor slash prioritization tool on top of it that will keep control of my thoughts, or remind me of things that I've kind of thought about and not actioned in the past, and then we'll build a cockpit view on top of this system. So that's the intention. So I'm just going to show you the best practice, how I'm going to achieve that, how I plan that out, how I'm going to map out the next slice of work, and then yeah, everything in between. So I'm just going to quickly jump back in Claude just to see what's going on here. So why is it having a hard time writing the handoff? It shouldn't take this long to write a handoff. Okay, cool. So the handoff is written into location statement written. Cool, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. So I'm gonna open a new session now. Hopefully it will flag and allow me to continue. Let's see. To continue. This is annoying. This is supposed to be triggered. I might need to restart Cursor because it's not picking up my handoff logic, which is annoying. And I shouldn't be needing to do this every time because okay, cool. All right, let me read the handoff. Okay, cool. So it's picked up the handoff and it now needs to read it. And just to kind of go through what a handoff is, obviously I've already explained about the compacting, but after each session is complete, I write a handover document basically in my temp folder, so it's not going into the project context, so that when my agent's working within a context window or within a project, it's not got the cloudiness of all of the previous sessions and everything that's happened before. It's got very limited. There's no other documents to kind of cloudy and confuse it. But anytime that I want to hand over, I point it to my temp folder to read the context of the latest handoff. And then from there, be able to go through it. So I'm going to, okay, verification leg, get open trees, so two open threads, grill me on slice 2. Yeah, cool. So now it knows what we need to do next. So we're going to start a grilling session. What is a grilling session? So I've got a tool a skill that I built that is essentially going to ask me a ton of questions just in terms of what I want my system to essentially do next. Once we've gone through that grilling exercise, it will write a plan. So it's going to read the spec document that we wrote at the start of the project yesterday, just in terms of getting the context in terms of what it is that we're trying to achieve. It will read and know where we're at in terms of what happened in slice 1, verify that it's all completed, now we're going to start the grilling session, so that it's going to ask me some questions on slice 2 and what we want to achieve in slice 2. And then from there, we're going to start the build for the thing that I've just described, which is adding all of the note models, the edge emissions, the database schema, the determinism helper to this module, and then that will bring some of these things that I've said to life. So I'm just waiting for it to read and gain context, seeing what we need to do. It's now fully grounded on the spec, what slice 1 did, and then it's going to start grilling me. So first question's in. So scope 1, question 1. Question 1. Should slice 2 be similarity edges only? So defer folder watch to slice 3, or both bundled as a handoff framed it. So similarity edges. So slice 2 equals similarity edges, the current export notes, pure determinism, offline, no new deps, cleanly gate enabled, and then whatever else. Bundle both slice 2 similarity edges plus folder watch, more value per slice, but adds a stateful watch loop, incremental. No, I want it very, very slimline. So I want to build this step by step. I don't want to overload what slice 2 is. So this is going to be just similarity edges only. What do we mean by similarity edges? So this is a new kind of link between 2 notes that are about the same thing. So as opposed to being in the same chat, what is it that connects the 2 islands? That's what the similarity edge means. So what is the definition that's linking the 2 nodes together? And that's when we can build things like whether we want a lexical connection, so they share the same words, or a semantic relationship where they mean the same thing, even if the words are different, right? And then how we want to theme or cluster them. And that's kind of what we want this particular slice to be. We don't want to over edge it and start to, because obviously, anyone that kind of vibe codes, it would just be, oh, can you make it like this? And can you make it look like this? And can you make it do this? And then you leave the AI tool to decide for you. I really want to go granular and have full control of every decision that's being made, so that if I want to change a feature, if I want to debug, or if something's not working correctly, I've essentially built every single block that goes into making up the system, so that I can actually then, better troubleshoot and better correct things that are going wrong. So which offline similarity algorithm should drive slice 2's edges? So we want this to be the token bag IDF weighted, consigned similarity, so connects the same ideas in different words. So this is the deterministic lexical connection, rather than having a semantic or they mean the same thing. I want it to be based off of the words that are in there, because that's contextually, it broadens a bit more, where you're seeing the similar patterns. So let's say, for example, I've been talking about, I don't know, for example, say LinkedIn over here, but then in another conversation, I'm talking about LinkedIn, but in a slightly different context. I still want to group those together slightly, because then that will open up more food for thought. And then later, if I want to change the relationship, it's something that I can do. Or if I'm seeing that the matches are not that strong, I can then also fine tune that and build it in a slightly different way. So in this instance, I'm going to create a lexical connection between these. So I'm going to submit that. I want it to be deterministic, based off of the TF IDF cosine Right. Resolved. Question 3, tokenization and stop word deterministic. Cool. So how should tokenization handle stop words for the TF IDF signal? Small frozen stop word set. So bake 30 to 40 word English stop words constant into a module like when reserved. Sharpen topical signals on the tiny 30 nodes. IDF becomes part of the frozen determinism contract. No stop word IDF only. Let the IDF weight downweight common words. No hard code list. Cleaner contracts. Fewer arbitrary choices, but weaker signal at small corpus. We'll do it this way. And yeah, just once again, this is obviously the system that we're talking about. Yeah, it's a very small snapshot. I've already exported every single conversation out of Claude, but I want to work off of and get it validated off of this small snapshot of 30 messages or 30 note loops. And then from there, I can, yeah, I can create better connection, okay, from them. Cool. The next question is how should cosine score be turned into actual similarity edges? So the threshold top K union, keep pairs above or under by, then cap each node at the top K neighbor. A pair survives if it's either at endpoints top K or undirected, canonicalized to minimum ID, max ID, tie broken, and bounded or connected deterministic. Same, but a pair survives only if both endpoints rank in their top K, higher precision, sparser graphs, but tends to fragment connectivity, weaker for navigation idea graph. No, we don't want to compromise on the actual node and being able to kind of drill down. So I'm going to select the top one. And this process yesterday took an age. It took about 45 minutes just to go through this planning phase yesterday with just all of the questions that were being asked, and then the peer review of the plan. So just to kind of go through this with you, once I've gone through this is going to shape the draft of the spec or the plan. So not the spec, the plan for this particular work package. I'll then peer review that with another AI tool that I'm going to use for peer review, just to do a gap analysis, sense check it based off of the first slice. Is there anything that we've got that is going to kind of cause any friction to the work that we've already done in this? Are there any questions that we've not asked? And then I'll throw it back in. Once that's sealed, then we'll give it to the AI agent to then create that specific slice or work package, and we'll keep iterating and iterating like that until the full system is built. And this is a much better approach than trying to one-shot it and really be vague. This gives us a lot more control of our code base, a lot better understanding of the granularity of every single decision that's been made that makes up our system at the end. Okay, so I've got allow the bash command. So change directory, collaborate, allow Python to collaborate, just you. Well, that's fine. Cool. Mm, 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 mm. Mm, mm. Now after this, obviously once it's gone, it's done. The grilling. I'm gonna change the session to plan mode, and then go through it. This is just testing feasibility, and what the location, so what threshold, pi versus the k, cap k should be frozen. Slice two contract values collaborated on the real fixture. So 38 total similarity edges, 3 robust cross conversation links, precise no sub 0.3 noise bounded by k, act safely sealing for denser real export recommended, or 61 edges. This is based off of a snapshot of the current conversations that we've got in there. So 61 edges, 10 cross convert, denser, more connected idea graphs, but the pull is weaker. Speculative links that may be coincidental token overlap. No, we don't want to put any kind of loose signals or loose connections into the system. We want everything that's connected to be there based off of intention, not no kind of fuzzy matching. Sorry about that. I was just sorting something out elsewhere. Um, right. So should the edges table gain a weight column to persist the cosine score of the similarity edge, add a real weight column, this additive migration, structural edge, and gen sentinel 1.0, similar edges, store rounded cosine, but rounding it up is just going to give us less result. Database isn't gate asserted, so the IDOP dependencies hold. Right, so no weight, edges on similarity edge is just the score like a structural edge, zero schema change, simplest, fully okay. Yeah, so this is what I want. Laser slices of ring compute, discards link strength, um weight in a separate table, keeps the edges untouched. Um, cleanest separation, no sentinel structure edges, but two sources of truth. Or is there an urge and more join complexity? No way. And yeah, that's no. I don't want any weight on this. This this planning phase does take a while. It does take a while, but it will be a heck of a lot more worth it than trying to one shot the system and then ending up with errors all over the place, and not knowing where to start in terms of unpicking them. So I'd rather just spend the time here in building this out properly, and going through the full planning phase properly, because again, it will save me a ton of time later on. It will help me in terms of steering and understanding where the connections are breaking, and then if I want to pivot or change any things. Hmm, hmm, cool. How should similar edges appear in the note markdown body? Single merge list, group related, group by related heading. Feed similar edges into an existing edge list. They should join. They join a sorted wiki link. Union automatically zero change to the working vault render graph. Yeah, the graph just gets denser. That's what I want. Smaller step. In fact, let me see. Nicer to read, but adds render logic and deduplicate plus handling of non-gated cosmetic benefit. Dedup handling for a non-gated cosmetic benefit. Group by number of related heads. Single merge list. No, let's not go for the easy option. Being lazy. Cool. So I'm just waiting for this to go. Cool. So then all this is doing now is just combining all of these logic and decisions that I'm making together. And then it will give me a full draft of everything that I've decided as a plan. And then I can start the planning session and go through it in a bit more granularity. So what should the frozen gate 2 slice assert about the similarity edges? Freeze expected similar edges on point 38 spec. Pin pins and the full TFD, which is the lexical link. Stop word list to the character slug. Okay, cool. Like the slug algo. Lock the algorithm across time. Any drift fails. Consistent slice with slice 1, heaviest spec surface recommended. Floor plus cross conversion. Okay, assert the cross conversion, similar edges, endpoint valid, independent, robust formulas, variant, lighter spec, proves the feature and determinism, doesn't lock the exact algorithm across the refactors, exact count, formula only. No, let's do exactly the same thing that we did for slice 1, because that worked well and is consistent. And then we can just keep reiterating. It's easy to test. And then we can obviously scale it or change anything from there. Cool. So where should the typical logic live? New similarity pi module, pure compute, similar edges. So this is just asking us, where do we actually want to store that logic? And I want to store it in a Python module. But I want that to live within its own logic, within its own module. I don't want to extend the ingest Python script, and the ingest Python script that's kind of handling all of the messages that are going in from my my local store in JSON format, and then it's converting all of that into the nodes within Obsidian. I don't want that. I don't want it to do that. I want it to be a completely independent module, just so that if I need to make any edits to it and how it's working or connecting, I'm not having to do anything within the ingest framework or the ingest logic or script. That's already locked and sealed. It's working. It's better always to create the separate Python script to handle this, because it's a completely new it's a new functionality that we're introducing, and it helps in terms of just the system swappability. So if we want to change anything down the road, we can change it quite easily, because we're not having to go in and mess with the ingest script and then having to go and look through that. And you know, if it changes anything in that, it might change something within the ingest framework and break that as well. So the best thing to do here is to create a new module for the similarity logic, so that it's completely independent. So again, we're building that into the scope. So you see how all of these decisions that are being made separately from one another allow us to build a system that's modular, so that we can obviously change anything as we're going along. We can move things around if we hit a stumbling block later down the line, and something's not working, or we want to change the way that the similarity is working. So let's say, for example, I don't want to use the lexical linking. I want to use more of a semantic linking. I can go in and just focus just on that particular module, the similarity Python script. So that's what we're going to do here. Okay, cool. So that's frozen. And all 10 branches have now been resolved. And now we're writing the numbers into the spec, which is fine. And now we're going to build the plan. Or the next step is to build the plan. I'll then get the plan peer reviewed with my peer review module. And then, yeah, we'll go through from there. So it's just doing the test, the back. Check pairs, important. Right, just as we're waiting for that to, I'm just going to quickly check on something else that's happening in the background. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, cool. So the decision tree is now fully resolved. But there's a process boundary that we need to respect. In slice one, the the human authored spec MD, which is the directive spec that we put in, that froze, and we froze the test gate explicitly. Then the agent built against it as part of a separate plan mode. The protect gate hook exists precisely so that building agents can't touch the test and MD to cheat a pass. So this is essentially a framework that we built in because, as I said before, using a different kind of build frameworks or trying to vibe code things in the past, you can, even if you put, sorry, let me kind of go a step backwards. So the old way that I used to do this, and see, I'm planning and creating the slices at the start of the build as, you know, we're doing a scoping session to help build what's going to go into the slice. Then we're going to plan the work package, and then we're going to peer review it and hand it off to be done. And then that will kind of iterate until it's done, it with all of the tests and gates locked into that. Previously, I used to create a single spec directive, give it to an agent, and then I would create the individual basically stage gates. So that, let's say, for example, I'd name one A, you know, go off and create the folder directory, and within that folder directory, I want you to add, I don't know, the environment, the dot environment, so that it's hidden, so that if I post it to so if I post the repo to Git, it's hidden, and all of my sensitive information is within that. Connect all of the APIs, put them X, Y, and Z, and that will make up block A. And then at the end of block A, once you've done block A, I want you to test each case and give me feedback as to whether we've passed that and can move to the next one. I'd always find that the agent would go away, do certain things, and then it would hit a roadblock, go back to the initial stage A, tweak something so that it can accept accept a partial pass, and then move on to the next task. And this is what the kind of like gap, or sorry, not the gap, the what it's flagging here. We wanted to build a robust way to lock down the spec and the test script not being editable by any agent. So it's asking me now, how far should this session go, given that the gate authority was sanctioned by the human in slice one. So we need to arm the gate and stop before the build. So we need to write the slice to spec section, pin recipe, do on is and the frozen test, blah blah blah. For me to sign off, it doesn't touch the similarity pi. The build is a fresh plan and a fresh TDD session, which mirrors a slice one rhythm, which is essentially what we're doing here. Or it's asking me whether I want to, sorry, actually see this. Or whether I want a spec only, and then I author the test, or go all the way. So do all of the spec and build now. We don't want to do that. We want to lock all of this into a spec, slice to spec, and then we're gonna do a fresh plan session to verify and validate everything that we've agreed, and then we're gonna start the TDD build session. Cool. So now it's calculating everything, it's going through and doing what it needs to do, and then we've armed the gate now. So we stop. We're not going to build anything. We're just going to pause here, look at everything that we've agreed within the 10 questions that is asked. We've armed the gate here. So again, that just means that we've put a stop on the agent trying to get carried away. Because I don't know if any of you've used Cursor or anything like that before, where you've told it to, you've asked it to do one thing, it'll start doing that, and then it'll get carried away. Oh yeah, let me. No, we don't want you to do anything else apart from stop here. Let me review each and every decision now as a collective. Let me plan and peer review, and then you build the test environment or the frameworks that will now validate each of these decisions, so that similarity edges work the way that we've agreed them to, the algorithm works the way that we've agreed it to, the tokenizer works as we've agreed it to, and so on and so forth. And then from here, we'll be able to do all of the planning in terms of the detail now of how we want that exactly to connect, and then create the actual work packages, and then hand that off to an agent that will then go and build it without clouding and muddying all of these other decisions. Because if we were to let it run free and do that here, it will end up changing some of these decisions if it hits a roadblock and say, oh, you know what, the tokenizer isn't working this way. It's probably best if I do it a different way. And then it would change the scope, and then further down the line we'll end up breaking something, or it might end up breaking something. We think it works a certain way and it's built it a different way, and then trying to unpick all of that becomes a really, really painful task, as I've learned the hard way. So yeah, we put the stage gate here now. We're going to create a handoff document. We're going to get the spec, which we've got here, and then we're going to get the slice to contract. It's been added to the spec, which is good. And then it freezes it, and then now we can start the planning session, which is going to be the next kind of stage after this. I'll then peer review it with another agent to do a gap analysis, feed the gap analysis back to this for just a kind of a sanity check, and then from there we'll lock down the plan and initiate the TDD session and build. Cool. So confirm size 2 is green. Okay. Okay, cool. So the gate is now armed. Do not build. So now it's going to tell us the next step. Editing first line. Okay, so now it's just setting up all of the roadblocks and everything that we've moved to the third slice with regards to any other decisions that we need to move forward. cool. Now let me record the handoff. So brilliant. And it's doing this now without being prompted, which is good. It's created the handoff because it knows that once this is locked down, you're going to create a snapshot of the current state of everything so that then we can move to a new session and call this handoff document or this handoff reference allowed to write. Yep, cool. And then from there, once we start the new session, so this is now written in the temp folder, as you can see. And again, the reason why I write it to a temporary folder is because I don't want that context congesting my project folder, because all of that just becomes noise for the agent when it's doing its thing and kind of looking for context, seeing how things are connected. I don't want the history of the decisions and how we got to that decision, all of that context being held within the actual project folder, because all that's doing is just creating congestion and more space for tokens to get used up, searching for context and things like that. We don't need that in there. So we store it external. Okay, so the bash tool user environment. Okay, that's fine. Absolute paths. Cool, done. So then now it's going to give me a summary of what this scoping session, and again, it's taken, literally about an hour to do the full planning, which is by design. So what landed in the session, so we've got the full spec the spec document that we've got in our project folder has been appended with the slice 2 contract. Slice 2 contract just basically means the next slice of work, or the next segment of work, not a layer but a segment, vertical slice. So from end to end, from top to bottom in terms of work, the working pattern, the next slice of work, and set all of the boundaries. We've got the test for slice 2, which is frozen so that we can test against it, and then we've added the handoff to the memory in the temporary folder. And then now we've got the gate proof, which is the py test, which is queued. 4 of them failed by design because we've got a stop on any builds taking place. And now the next step is to commit the armed spec, and then you can stop before the build, or we can start the TDD and whatever else. You can carry the notes of uncommitted, blah, blah, blah. So the next session, you can choose before. So we want to commit the armed spec plus a new test. Right, so what I want to actually do here is commit the spec. So we can start. Do I want to commit the spec, or do I want to actually plan? Let me see. I drive before red and green is that's I'll read only to the agent, start the TDD build, write similarity, blah, 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 blah. Next step before you build it, hooks, has to carry over and the hooks is still done. Okay, well, that's fine. So what I actually want to do now is create a new session. So a new session, and then continue from handover. Continue from, and then I'm now pressing Shift and Tab to change to plaid mode. So you can see here, I'm pressing Shift and Tab. It's changing what kind of mode I'm in. I'm currently in plan mode. Continue from handover, enter plan mode to flush out the slice 2 spec. Yeah. Cool. So we're in planning mode, and now this is going to be where we just refine things, and then I'll be able to go back and forth with the peer review, add it, and then we'll be able to memory slice 2 may already be partially spec. Griffin index. Cool. Okay, cool. Memory size 2 may already be partially spec. Get on. Get on. Index spec 2 already exists. Expect 2 is modified. Is on track. Let me read the handoff. Spec, cool. So now it's reading. You can see that it's not committed because we don't want to commit that until we've actually locked everything in. Okay. No, it's just reading the spec. Lines 84 to 142, which is good. Yeah. So the next natural step is the build plan, which is what we're doing now. Let me read signs implementation to find exact wiring points. So yeah, so now this is where the system's now looking at the wiring points and how we're going to be able to actually connect what we want to do in slice 2 to the points that are locked in what we built in slice 1. So now it has the full picture. The slice 2 contract is already complete and locked with the pin. So the slice 2 armed that exist in a working build plan for slice 2. What do you plan to cover? So yes, we want the build plan, right? Ignore this plan build. Have open. Cool. So yeah, that's fine. I actually want to close this because I don't need that open. Don't need that open. Don't need that open. Oh, maybe we do need that one open. Cool. Right. So seeing how that one. Okay, so it's confirmed that there are no regression risks. So there's no risk of us breaking anything. I haven't everything needed by a build plan. So now it's going to start drafting a build plan. It will output it to me. I will now get that build plan and peer review it. Once that build plan is peer reviewed, we can then plug it in, lock and commit the spec, because I don't want to lock the spec down without running through the plan and making sure that there's nothing that really breaks in case we need to edit the spec plan. Because what I don't want to do is start a build, let's say I'm for 3 or 4 slices into the work package, and then I have to go back to spec 1 and change the spec. We should always be editing and fixing or debugging what we're doing so that it's to spec, rather than encountering a problem and then having to go back and then edit a spec, because now you're changing what you wanted to build rather than fixing the problem, where you should always actually be fixing the problem and debugging and finding a new solution for it, rather than changing what you wanted your system to do in order to get around the problem. It's not the same. Right, so no, I don't want to auto accept this because I haven't read it, number one. So I want to actually yeah, so this is the plan that it's outputted. I'm just selecting what I'm doing now is just selecting the plan. I'm going to go into my agent here, and then I'm basically asking to do a peer review. But I'm going to open a new session here. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is just I'm changing the directory that I'm in, just to make sure that it's working in the right space. So cd to the Axo cockpit, the name of this project. So I'm just making sure that it's looking at the right, looking and working in the right directory. So I'll hop into the repo. The shell is still okay. That's fine. Cool. So then now it gives it, cool, done. So now it's working from here. So now I'm going to paste in, can you peer review this build plan for slice 2 with me? Do any gap analysis on any from the spec. Okay, paste it. Cool. So then essentially what I'm doing here is using another tool to then basically cross-reference anything that's been missed, and I can then give that back to my planning session, and basically stress test it, make sure that the gaps that have been identified are actually valid. Yeah, so that the gaps that have been identified are actually genuine gaps, or gaps that have been flagged due to the agent that I'm using not having context. So far, the plan matches the core contract closely. The TDF recipe, amend points, and the related rendering are all real spec items. I'm doing one verification pass now on the current git/test, because a couple of the process assumptions in the plan depend on what is actually committed and what is merely working state. The current test state confirms that the plan's headlines are armed red. Yeah, that's fine. That's by design. I'm grabbing the line numbers for the exact test code and anchors now so that we can review anything that's actionable, rather than just looks reasonable. Cool. So I'm giving it access to the code base so it can review everything in accordance to what's being planned. It doesn't have the same context, so it shouldn't, be clouded by this, whatever the first agent that built the plan out based off of the answers that we gave has got. And then from here, we should be able to cover off any context gaps, flag it to the first agent, and then we'll have a build plan, and then I can invoke the skills that we wrote for the continual loop and auto debugging and things like that, so that we can get the next phase of this built out, and then we'll be able to look at the system with all of the nodes better connected, and slightly better relationships between these, so that I'm not having to kind of click through because these have been grouped in list. I want the whole thing just to be a visual nodes that I can kind of interact with, so that when I'm then linking this to my my mentor agent that I'm going to end up building to this, it's able to kind of see the links more clearly. We can then categorize all of that data, and we've not got all of that logic being done in one system. Yeah, so that's the aim, that's the plan. Let's see where it's gotten to. Okay, cool. So it's reviewed the plan. Circular import risk of a proposed wire in the plan says to add from a similarity of the ingest points, while similarity imports the node edge from the ingest. That is likely to fail if the import is placed before the edge. So again, that's something that we can flag. The safer option is to import or compute similar edges lazily inside the ingest, which I don't want to. I don't want to mix this functionality at all after the build edges around the ingest, or make a similarity use a type check-in from the nodes edge and lazily inside the compute similar edges. I would use lazy import in ingest is the smallest change. The verification target is off by one test. The test plan says slice 2 has 7 tests and the final green should be the 12 passed. The actual repo has 8 slice, 2 tests, because the test expected similarity count, blah blah blah. Commit. Okay, cool. So these are all the gaps that it's identified. And what I'm gonna do is just feed this feedback to the agent. So here is a peer review. So I'm just gonna move this here. Here is a peer review, and once again, we're in plan mode. So again, it's just we're mapping out what we want to do before we kind of go away blindly and start firing and pinging things to the agent to build blindly. So just so we can end up avoiding a lot of the feedback. Cool. So the feedback from the agent is that this is a really strong review, and it's validating each item. So the circular import risk is valid. It's a real bug. I confirmed that if a similarity import compute similar edges and it sits on top of the ingest, it executes before the edge. And then, so we need to plan for that. So all fine. It's okay, cool. So I don't want to auto accept this again. So no, I want to keep planning. I want to see what changes it's actually made to this. So again, I'll do the same thing. I will feedback to my reviewer. Gaps. Cool. So I've again asking for feedback, just validate and see if the gaps that have actually been closed, because this states that wiring is now lazy import inside, and then oh crap, now continue. Randomly, sorry, accidentally pressed escape, which stopped my agent's work. Right, so wiring is lazy, import side. Oh, the failure mode, explain, edge, runtime, blah, blah, blah. Test count is off by 1, corrected, 8 slices, blah, blah, blah. So that validated that. So again, path limited, step 0 explicitly excludes handoff from the gate. Step 0 captures. So your review was accurate on all counts, finding blah, blah, blah. Right, so then now, the second pass, the main gaps are closed, but the V2 now explicitly covers all of these things. One small remaining implementation, gotcha. So if a similarity PY puts the note under type checking, but still annotates the compute similarity edges notes list, the file needs either the feature import annotations or this. So we're gonna then feeds back, otherwise resolve one minor process tweak as the vault baseline outside the repo, or the last make sure it's on track to. Okay, cool. So give this feedback. Okay, cool. So then I've passed that back. And this is the beauty of this, because you're able to sense check, and I'm using Opus 4.8 on the high setting with very limited context, but you can still see that even just taking that time, we've been building for an hour and 20 minutes or planning for an hour and 20 minutes, but we're seeing gaps that we can close up, because these are avoiding. We could have avoided 5 things going wrong there that would have taken ages to fix, and ended up causing structural issues within our build and our code base, to the point where it's fixing things that we don't understand in the first place, because we're thinking it's built something a certain way. We've done all the due diligence in terms of understanding the modules that we're putting in and what we've decided. But then because of this small tweak and whatever else, it works in a different way. And then you're trying to debug. It just makes the whole thing. And I want to be able to actually understand every single layer of this so that I can build forward from it as well. So yeah, so both folded. And now similarity starts with da da da. Okay, cool. So I want to accept it. Because that was the last bug and it's corrected that. And now the plan is approved. Let me set up the to-do list for the execution. So updating the to-do list. So the re-anchor git. Cool. So now it's gonna do all of the commits. We're gonna lock the spec. We're then gonna create that plan document and put it into the project. And put everything in to our project base that was external that we need for this build as well. And then we can actually start the build process. We'll go through the TDD, and then I will show you the go high level skill, or the zoom out skill, which will allow us to kind of keep a bird's eye operational view of what we've built so far in the grand scheme of things, what else is left to do in terms of getting the system to where we need it to. And then it gives us that kind of overview in terms of where we're at, because right now we're quite granular in the detail. We're quite zoomed in into the what the AI is doing, or what we're building. We're making very granular decisions. It's always good to kind of take that zoom out approach and see where we are from a progress perspective in relation to the actual full build of the system that we're trying to put together. So the to-do list has been updated. Create a personal manager. Write. Wire the compute. Similar edges. Okay. Okay. Cool. So it's doing its thing. We're just gonna wait for that to do what it's doing. And while that is happening, I'm actually gonna put this on BRB. I need to go and get a drink really quickly. And then I'll be back in a second. Hopefully, this will all be finished, and then we can get to the building phase of this. I'm just gonna quickly allow one of these things. Right, catch you in a second. Right, sorry about that. Took a little bit longer than expected to do what I needed to do. Um, and yeah, just gonna pick up where I left off. Putting the final pieces together. We've just finished the peer review of the plan, and now we want to seal the plan and lock down the spec for this next build. We're then going to put everything in, close the session off, and yeah, start the next stage. So the to-do list is now finished. We're about to commit the slice into the repo, into Git, and then we can close this session down. Yeah, we can then close the session down and hand it over to the next agent, and then we can obviously now start the building blocks. For reference sake, this is what we're working on. So the first slice was getting my chat history, and this is just a snapshot. It's not the full chat history, but what I want to build is kind of like not a co-pilot, like a cockpit for all of my thoughts, all of my conversations with AI. And when I say thoughts, obviously not me mentally, but any conversations I had with AI, any kind of ideation sessions that I've had with an LLM tool, I want to put it all into this central knowledge base to then be able to use AI to prioritize work, to connect thoughts and notes and things like that, conversations that I've had, any ideation. And then this will then kind of be the building blocks in terms of how I want to work moving forward, is to do a lot of my conversing, ideations, planning and things like that locally, using Claude Code, using codecs and things of that nature. But then I know that it's constantly feeding this central hub, which will help me again better prioritize things, better navigate idea chains and things like that, more systematically, rather than relying on me remembering context, having an idea this week, going on holiday or going to work or something, and then forgetting the context, and then picking it back up in a month. This will help me really channel the things that I want to do, to be able to close the things I want to do, and then I'm going to build on top of this, moving forward, document the whole journey, and yeah, and then hopefully be able to systemize it. So where we're at the moment is so this is just a sample of 30 historic conversations that I've had with Claude, but we've built it in a way that we've extracted all of the data and whatnot. I can see all the connections, but when I go into it, all of the messages are kind of subsections. What we're in the process of doing now is connecting all of these dots in a more data-driven way, and I'm building this and showcasing kind of like my process when it comes to building systems and things like that, rather than just vibe coding the whole lot. It's really rigorous planning, a lot of step-by-step peer reviewing, creating works in really small packages and PRs that we can then ship to an agent and give it real clarity on the small subtasks that we want to do. We're then able to plan, peer review that with another agent, and then create a build pack or build plan that we can then implement. And it's really just whittled down task list that we can gate. We can really audit, test functionality, and then just rinse and repeat that until the whole system is built, and we've got complete overview of the system that we're building and putting together, without having to rely on the agent or the code doing the work for us. And that's the plan. So it was just a quick recap, because obviously I've been away for about 45 minutes or so. But yeah, I'm just getting back into it now, and yeah, we can crack on from here. So the similarity edge, which is what slice 2 is going to be about, and what is a similarity edge, I will explain. So obviously the view that we've got here is just a flat view of conversations that are connected, based off of, maybe, you know, this might be a project and things like that, and then I've opened other various messages or chats alongside that. But what I want to do is actually be able to now connect linked conversations, linked projects, linked conversations by subject, and create that pairing, so that there's that connectivity on a lexical level. And what does lexical mean? It means that we're sharing the same words. I could have gone for more of a semantic approach, where we're looking at words that mean the same thing, or other words that may mean the same things, and building the neural network that way. But that will be a lot more compute will be required, and it's not the way that I wanted to link it. I wanted it to be linked about by words, because again, we might not be talking about exactly the same thing, but I want it to score and weight those connections. So again, you can really see how that network connects, and we're building this in a really modular way anyway. So if I find that I'm not happy with the end result, I'm not happy with how that's connecting, I can go in and look at the similarity Python module, change that, and that shouldn't, in theory, break the rest of the system and collapse everything that we've built so far. So that's where we're at the moment. And yeah, I'll jump back into Cursor, my harness of choice, and then just look at what the next steps. So what do you mean what was built? We haven't started the build phase yet. Update to okay, create a personal manager, similarity, survival, slice to similarity done. Ooh, we're not supposed to build. Handoff is still working tree. Okay, so validations, 13 path slice, productivity, path, commit path, remaining manual step as a eyeball. We're not supposed to do all of this in the same context window. We're supposed to actually switch. So the commit, the slice is committed, and now the project is in memory, shipped. Why is it started a build? That's not, unless, okay, no, I think I might have figured this. My mistake. Just checking in this again. It might be that I'm tripping here. With me. Essentially, just what I'm checking here is why my directive and rules just to create really harsh and hard boundaries wasn't respected by the agent, because it was supposed to deploy the TDD skill, so that I can actually just talk through that, and then go from there. Good question. To integrate, because the honest answer is the part that was respected was the integral boundary held as explaining, not the mechanism and support. What gate actually is gate A. The gate isn't a plan versus build, it's a session A versus session B. Those I thought what actually kept it in the session. Authorship separation held across the session boundary, were authorized and locked in the prior session. This is why I'm already sitting in a modified untracked. Okay, cool. It did not write, the session did not write the contract for the author and the grader versus the honest caveat. The thing that was supposed to be enforced this mechanically is the protect gate, was dominant. It catches the bash tool. The underlying worries did not safeguard and protect anything. Okay, worth aiming the hooks before slice 3. Worth arming the hooks before slice 3 to enforce it. Okay, so let's arm the hook. Always have to do these things, so let's arm the hooks. Really annoying. Right, so let's happen to YR. Right, so this is I just want to just quickly tidy this up before I continue, because I'm really annoyed at that last prompt. Okay, no. Right, so what I'm doing now is setting. This is a square bubble. Let me use a dedicated skill. No, let me concern current. Okay, cool. So I'm just setting up a skill, so that the hook can actually be configured properly. This does exist. Heck. Would exist if the postal bash fired for this session. Cool. So that's not the hooks are still dormant in this session, despite running the Python test via the bash several times. Yes. Cool. So this time never fired, which is annoying. Here's the important part. I can't arm them for you. The user only action by design the hooks to execute on arbitrary shell commands, and Claude Code does not have auto trust added to systems.json. What I can do is make sure that the config is correct and robust, so it's actually working the moment that you arm them, reviewing it. Okay, cool. So you're just gonna wait for this update config skill to be done. Have the schema, let me read the settings, and then make 2 hardening edits. Cool. So we're gonna let it do this. And then I've basically just got to the hooks, right? So just closing a few of these things down that we don't need open, and I want to close down a few of these other sessions again that we don't need open, just so we've got full clarity of what we're working on. Okay, so JSON matches. Fine. And while that's doing that, I want to just check something. What was built? Yeah. What was built? Session. I want to be able to actually open this up in Obsidian. Remain a manual step of saying an humble. Open the vault and confirm that the graphs are more connected by similar edges. Two flags, handoff MD. It's still modified by the word tree and kept. Okay, done. Config hard and edit. Well, I can't do. Okay, that's fine. Restart the session and reread or restart the session. Claude Code. Okay. So the holes run. Launching the terminal. Terminal's not launched. Close. Give these things down. Continue. Not opening the terminal for some reason. In itself. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just quickly restart. I'm gonna quickly restart Cursor. And yeah, we'll go from there. Right. Let's see. Let's relaunch that. I'm just gonna quickly close this graph view. Right, so can't. So I'm currently just in the terminal. Um, yeah, sorry, I'm currently in the terminal and just fix this issue. I'm just debugging the hooks command because it's not actually pulling down any of the hooks that we've actually created for the handoff and a few other things with regards to protecting our gates as well as blocking agents from editing our test specs. So the project local settings has a hook key at all. That's why the hooks show nothing. Okay, cool. So there are no hook keys currently configured. So there is our culprit. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing now is just configuring the hook keys for the project. So the hooks actually exists, but in a sub project folders, not where Claude is running. Let me read them searching. So we've got all of them available. So the fonts, yes, yes, yes. Let's do that. Cool. Once I've got this fixed, I'll put back in. So the global handoff script isn't where the hooks expect it to be. Okay. So the global handover script isn't where the hooks expect it to be. And that's why that's not showing. So we need to do this. And then that way the handoff and compacting will work. I'll be able to show you that and then crack on with the rest of this build. Because I need to go back and then verify, run a TDD and show you the zooming out feature as well. How do you want the handoff? Hooks to be handoff, add three handoff, mirror, read latest global settings, projects included. Okay, yeah, that's what we want. The TDD hooks must stay in the project level, which is fine because they're relative paths. Yeah, order. One thing that is fine. Use school for update config. Claude may use instructions, code, or files from this skill. Use a skill configure and Claude Code harness via settings. That's okay. That's fine. Option me make the handoff and bash. Okay, yep. I want to proceed. And then I'll show you what is happening or what has happened based off of what we're doing off screen. Doing what it's doing. Okay, cool. So we'll show the handoff in every project, including, and you can review and disable them anytime. Show all the handoff. Okay, cool. So this is fine. Brilliant. So this is now. So now we type in me initiate terminal. Really need to execute patience when we're building in this manner, because a lot of it's happening away from anything visual. But once we build all of these bare boned kind of like workflows and overviews and things of that nature, we'll be better. Bash, do you want to continue? Yes. And then in a minute, I'll be able to check whether these changes have actually applied to, to these brain nodes. And then we can import a lot more in and then test the connections. But I want to make sure that the last stage gate was actually done properly. Okay. Okay. Ah, cool. Let me see. Hooks, and I'm looking for prompt commit. Can't see that. Can't see that. Entirely. Okay. Which of these do I? Mm-hmm. So I'm still just consulting Claude Code to just fix this handoff hook. That the skill for handoff is actually reliant on. Okay, cool. So let me see. This should now be operational and let's test it out because we need to verify this last step. Did we even commit slice to? Right, so yeah, that's fine. Write the handoff to the temp folder. Yes. Handoff help. Okay, cool. So let's run it. Copies from scratch. Handoff is written. File. Handoff is captured. Cool and good. Region truth. Green. The volatile bits doesn't hold. The committed hook hardening. I still need the hooks. Restart to arm. An outstanding percent eyeball. Okay, cool. So the next action is spec. Nope, it's not to spec. We need to commit. We need to commit the changes to our settings file. .json. Before we do anything, and then we'll hand over and start a new session. Committing, so let it do that. Morning is committed. Okay, that's fine. Handoff is currently left out. It's still the only uncommitted change in the working tree. Which one? The handoffs.md. Reminder that the hooks are now committed, but still association run hooks to restart or restart to arm them. Okay. We shall. Just triggering a new session. Leave that in there. Start Claude. Makes sense if I actually spell it correctly. I'm up and running. Clear content, that's fine. Or restart. No, I want to fully restart. Because I want to initialize. Okay, cool. Really didn't want extra usage. What are you doing? Wanted to exit. Cool. So what I'm going to do is close that session. Start a new session. Continue from hand off. So then hopefully this will find where we picked up where we left from. It's searching the temporary folder, which is good. While that's doing that, to run the go high level, I'm just gonna go here and run the skill for okay. You do. There is a zoom out skill that we literally committed yesterday. So let me just go and check why it's not able to reference that. These are the little annoying things that set something up one way, and now it's not able to view what I'm looking for. Right, so I'm going to the back. And somebody's on a high level. Just check. Mm-mm. Mm. 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 Personal management plan. Okay, cool. Skill involved. Here's a zoom out. Okay, cool. So let me see what it's telling me that it doesn't found a zoom out skill in the outside hospital marked as disable model invocation true. What? User triggered only, which is fine. That's what I did. And you triggered it. Its directive is to go a layer. Yeah, cool. So this is essentially where we're at. So we've built the edges. We've done the compute for the similar edges and similarity pi. We now need to flatten and sort by ID. Data transfer wiki. Edge structure is similar. Okay, cool. So the domain glossary, that's fine. Where the seams are. If and when feminist and choke. And to zoom in. Oh, I don't need you to zoom in. I just wanted to just have a quick view of where we are at in this build. So the slice free is broken down into two elements. Voice corp. Nope, I don't want to do that. We've not done the test bias to or passed the check. Not done any of these things, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. And you're not in actually not in and mode at the moment. Yeah, in execute mode. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, slice two automated gate currently reports 13 passes. You said that we haven't done a TDD for slice two or manual check. Okay, cool. So manual obsidian eyeball. So we need to regenerate the vault from the fixture, open obsidian, confirm the day on date by eye. More connected graphs where similar edges between. Rewash the red green lube, that's fine. We want to do this and this. The other bit was already done, so I'm gonna just going back into quick and I'm going to remove this vault and then can and re um okay, let me okay. Slightly different again because it's very subtle, but we're seeing slightly different connection pattern here. Right place. Yeah. So there is a slight, very subtle, and I can only really see it from being this far out. The connections are slightly less now because it is applying a different method in terms of the connectivity. It's more we've got that lexical similarity pairing where we've got similar words within each. So you can see here, this is to do with geo pins on a logistics software. This was a system that I was building for a retail company where I was building their or adding a module to their what's it called, delivery system that they use called day carts. And then obviously you can see now here, if I go to any of these points that connect, you're going from Descartes' use of geopin to addresses. It's connected to something that's to do with Google Maps. It's also connected to network traffic using DevOps. But again, let's have a look. Let me see inside here. Yeah, so it contains, again, that's the key linking word, is the Descartes geopin. So if I go back here, we've got traffic, maps, Google Maps again, Google Maps again. Again, Descartes and Google Maps. So, the connections are there, and there is a bit more separation now in terms of how these things are linked, which is good on this small sample. I will tweak it as I go along because I do want the pairings, but as you can see before, again, you can rewind back a bit. These things were a lot, they were linked. All of them were connected somehow, but this separation is what I was looking for. So in terms of the conversations being linked by the patterns based off of the words that are used in there, where it's to do with like Google mapping and stuff like that, it's all connected. I'm guessing this is to do with Google Sheets here, data pivots. All of these are contextually linked. So this is that slice 2 applied in terms of the similarity pairing between all of the nodes, and I want to now go to the next step in terms of the next slice of what we're building in this system, to where we're able to then eventually get all of my conversation notes and things like that and thoughts down into the system, and then apply that linking down to the system. But yeah, overall I'm happy with that and the progress and what we've been able to achieve there. I just need to go back now and crack on with, and that break that I took was a bit too long to where I lost where I was, and I lost my train of thought a little bit. But I'm just going through the iteration now and testing it in terms of what we did in slice 2. Let's see, you're right to stop me here. Good. Let me audit the gate rigger. And then I'm just going to put a by the way, tested. Oh, I've tested Obsidian. Okay, of course, that's fine. User confirms, fine. Um, uh, that closes the gap, which is fine. That closes the manual check gap and the vault generated. Let me try and convert slice to rigor audit. Everything reconciles exactly as the frozen 30 nodes, blah, blah, blah. I mapped all 7. The soft spots worth knowing are both the spec faithful and the spec wrote them this way. The test didn't weaken anything. The whole recipe hangs on one magic number. 37 is just a count. The gate never pins the identity of the 37 pairs. Subtly wrong recipe. Cross conversation is asserted as more than 1 when the collaborated truth is exactly 3. Passes with a single cross conversation edge, combined with number 1, and imply a drop. The verdict is the gate was going close and it's not weakened, but its strength rests on a single number 37 standing for the recipe was reproduced exactly, and under asserts the conversion, the cheapest meaningful hardening would be tightening ASCII to equal 3. Okay, cool. So let's tighten this. Sorry, no, both are sanctioned by human only edits. I can't make them. And doing it now risks overfitting the test. So today's implies, so it's your call. Okay, cool. So slice 2, tighten the gate. Want me to flag the ASCII change or the golden edge set? For you to apply the sanction human edits, or leave the gate as is. Slice 3. Okay, cool. So want it to okay, cool. So let's do this tighten it. Okay, cool. So I'm actually gonna cut here. And then I'll stream this evening for Slice 3. Where we'll be again just reiterating the same process, planning the next steps, and then building the next layer of the application.